Jema. So it's a very interesting subject actually, finding the divine through works and very vast. So we'll just take up certain sutras which are important and then we'll have questions because it's a very vast subject and we are doing it in as is on the Gita. So the first thing is it's not the classical way of a path which matters. What matters is the need, why we are seeking the divine. Repeatedly both Sri Aurobindo and the mother and all the yogis have emphasized this. So we may do everything right, like I may remember and offer to the divine. I may do it purely because somewhere somebody has told us, something in us has taken a fancy that this is how I should do. We have some understanding of what yoga is and so on and so forth. But if the divine becomes the need, that's the important thing. If the divine becomes the need, there is a thirst, then whatever we may do will turn into a yoga. So this is important that if the need is not there, and what is meant by need, how does it awaken? When we realize that the life we are leading with all its glamour and all its issues and all its happinesses, whatever it may give, is too little. It doesn't satisfy something deep within. We realize the limitations of human life as a whole, not just my life, your life, or somebody's life. When a time comes when we understand this, then we don't have to leave anything outwardly, but automatically a flame is lit which seeks the divine. And because it seeks the divine, it finds the divine. I'm reminded of this saying from the Bible: seek and you shall find. Knock and you shall enter. So this is the basic. Without this, there is no further, any method, technique doesn't help. Second is this, nowadays because we are living in a machinistic age. So there is so much talk about technique, method. There are camps where we are taught methods, technique. This is so silly. Silly because we are not dealing with a robotic machine. Divine is not a machine where you switch on and he comes. And there are several letters of Sri Aurobindo and the mother. So I am not quoting them, but there are some, for example, one place he says, the divine gives the fruit of the sadhana in the measure of the sincerity of aspiration. So obviously it's not about every day one is sitting at a point of time and meditating, or one is following a particular technique. Well, divine is not going to be fooled by any of this. So we have to understand the method and etc. work only if deep within there is a genuine need and the divine is for us a living reality. So only when he is a living reality, quite naturally that also there is the urge and the thirst to meet him, to become one with him. If he has not become so, if we don't understand the limitations of this life, how do we prepare ourselves? Well, that's the whole idea of satsang. And the best way of satsang is to read their works, or works which are spiritually inspired and they are flowing from a deep spiritual consciousness. When we read them, quite naturally a spark is lit and we begin to seek, because we suddenly realize, oh my God, there is so much which we are not even aware of. There is a love which our human love pales. All our satisfactions count for nothing. So at some point the spark is ignited, then the journey begins. No method, technique otherwise works if this need, this thirst, this seeking, this call, this aspiration, whatever we may call it, has begun. Now once this basic thing is settled, then the question is, there are several paths. Out of these, Sri Aurobindo, the mother, and of course Sri Krishna, they definitely favor the path of karma. In fact, when somebody asked Sri Aurobindo that I want to come to the ashram to get a mantra from the mother, he wrote a letter. The mother does not give mantra, she gives work. So why work is so important? For several reasons. One is given in the Gita. The path of works is the easiest because it comes most natural to us. For jnana, we have to sit and meditate or contemplate or reflect. It's not easy. It's not natural because most of us do not even cogitate properly. So to say that, sit and meditate, or, even if you take up the highest idea, meditate upon it. It doesn't come naturally to us. If you take bhakti, then loving the divine exclusively, shutting him in your heart chamber, it's not easy. It's a very special grace. But all of us are engaged in work all the time, whether we want it or not, like it or not. So it's the most easy, natural. And the second thing that Sri Aurobindo emphasizes in Essays on the Gita, because it's more complete. So why it's more complete? We are finding the same divine, whether through bhakti or through jnana. Then how come path of works is more complete? Well, we can look at it like that. Works are an end point of everything. We can keep works away and meditate. So what is the part which is engaging in meditation? It's primarily the mind. So mind is meditating. Which is the part which is engaging in bhakti? It is primarily the heart. Can we do works without the heart and mind into it? Mind has to be engaged. We are doing any work we do, mind is engaged. And the heart at some point has to come in. Of course, heart many times doesn't come in, but still at some point it comes in. So works by its nature are integral, and therefore they are the easiest way to lead us to the integral vision of the divine, which Shri Krishna speaks of as samagra mam, to see me in totality, because everywhere there is work going on. Now, this is the second important sutra, that works are easiest and more complete in terms of the path of yoga. Again, not that people who are inclined towards sitting and meditating, whatever it means, because most of the time people sit. Meditation is not equivalent to sitting in cross-legged posture or lotus posture, or for that matter, any posture. So there are people of different kind, but they engage in, again, bhakti is not about ritualistic offering. Similarly, works are not about only doing certain kind of works which are considered holy and sacred. So it's not like doing religious worship is works through which I can find the divine. In our context, cleaning the Matri Mandir or cleaning the Samadhi's work. But let's say when I am eating food in the dining room or when I am taking a walk, it's not work. So we have to get rid of this misconception. One may be doing those things which are, all this is there in the synthesis of yoga. I am not quoting, but they are all there. So we can take it as, So it's not like there are some works which are special and dear to the divine, and therefore by doing that we can do karma yoga, whereas there are other works which are not dear or sacred to the divine, like if we don't do temple service or church service, then we are not engaging in karma yoga. No. Everything, speaking, listening, cooking, sweeping the floor, walking, writing, reading, seeing a patient, client, building, constructing, anything that we are doing is work. So we have to understand that the scope of karma yoga and the canvas is very vast. So it takes us immediately, as such it takes out the shell of the ego very fast. Because you begin to engage with the entire creation. You don't draw a division that I am meditating whereas others are not meditating. I am having bhakti but others are not in bhakti. Well, works, everybody is in work. Okay, you may be engaged in the yoga part of it, but works are universal. The moment we understand works are universal, then the fourth thing that we need to understand is what really is work. So we understand that work requires energy and action. Now when we look back, so first thing is to get back the true jnana, get the orientation right. So we go to where is this energy coming from? Is it my particularly? No, it's not mine. Now that's where the journey starts, through discernment that works are happening in this entire creation. And even if I don't want to do works, I will be compelled to work. Even breathing, even lying down is a work. Bathing, it's something which is going on in nature because there is a tremendous energy which is working in this creation. And from there starts the journey of work, that if there is energy and work is going on, then what really is the yoga? And there we have to understand this energy is differentiated through many layers and levels. And we have to consciously know the distinction between the lower forms of energy and the higher forms of energy. I can't be doing work whether in ashram or Auroville or anywhere, with ego and ambition and say it's karmi yoga. Because desire, ego, ambition are lower forms of energy. Again, it's not about being wrong or right or sinning, etc. No, it's a lower form of energy. You can't drive use a diesel-driven car to climb to the, moon. You can't do that. It's just impossible. It has to change. So first we have to see what kind of energy is flowing through us, and we can either drive, let ourselves be driven, not drive, let ourselves be driven by the energy of desire, ambition, with the steerman as the ego, or we can be driven by the divine Shakti and the divine himself as the pilot. So there is a period in which one has to hand over this. So that means making conscious choices. Discernment is important, and very beautifully Shri Krishna says, the buddhi must be turned inwards and upward rather than outward and downward. So that means motive is very important, which is what we were talking before yesterday. I may be doing wonderful work outwardly, but my motive may be getting a reward. My motive may be getting praise. Rewards can be very subtle. My motive may be, money. My motive may be a chair or a position. Then it's zero. At one place, Mother speaks about this, about offering, that if you have offered something to the Lord and you remember it, then He has no need to remember it. Then actually you have offered it to your ego. So it has to be like that we have to constantly remind ourselves that the sole motive of work has to be to serve the divine, and this service should be an act of love, but that comes a little later. But so that means we have to thoroughly see, am I doing it for my desired self, for either a very obvious or very covert kind of satisfaction to the ego and the desire? Which means that I would spontaneously become equal to criticism and praise. Automatically from that equality will flow. Now, if I am doing it to impress others, I'll do it very well when those whom I want to impress are around, like people do, in front of their bosses. And if I am doing it for the sake of the divine, I'll do it with all meticulousness, even if there is nobody else, because the divine is there and I'm doing it for the divine. If I am doing it for getting praise, I would like to take up works which are very obvious, which are loud, which are, full of the glam, show, etc. But if I am doing for the divine, the smallest of work will become my worship. So all this will come spontaneously. So all works, including every small detail of life, waking up in the morning till night, Sri Aurobindo gives a very interesting, there is a small little letter where he says how to engage in Karma Yoga. He says, see, it is very difficult to all the time remember and keep doing the work. He says that it's not easy. So when you wake up in the morning, consecrate the day to the divine. So now there are three things: offering, consecration and surrender. They are part of the divine works. So offering is, okay, Mother, this day I am giving to you. It's your day. You conduct its affairs. This is offering. It's the basic thing. When I finish the day, Mother, this day I am offering back to you, and I am offering my sleep to you. So this is your thing now, and you take care of it. So this starts with offering. Then every work before, when we begin it and when we end it. So we begin with remembering the divine and offering to the divine, and then we end with gratitude. Now, if we are really doing it, then there will be a test. The test will be that we will be not attached to the fruit. If I say I am doing it for you, and then somebody says, you know what, you went really, what happened to you? It was not so good. Now, you see, that's when the test comes, that whether we were doing it for the sake of the fruit. Now, again, here there is a subtle distinction. Does it mean I'll be indifferent and callous in what you are doing? No. We will do it to the best of our ability. We'll be constantly progressing, improving upon the work. But we are not doing it for the rewards of people, their honor, their praise. We are not moved by their blames. We can pick up. There is something which may be like a criticism, yet there may be something very genuine about it. So that's where dynamic vigilance comes. But we are not disheartened, oh, I did my best and somebody didn't appreciate it. So it's a very subtle distinction when we say that not doing it for the sake of fruits. Does it mean we are indifferent to success or failure? No. We'll do well. success should come, mother's work. We should not say it doesn't matter whether projects are completed in time or not, because we are not eyeing for reward. We'll do it completely, fully with our heart and mind and soul into it, and yet things may not happen, so it leaves us quiet and undisturbed. So equanimity and detachment to the fruits is the sign that one is on the path of works. And only you will know, nobody else will know. Nobody else will be able to see. It's an inner, whole yoga is an inner process. So this is the basic thing, that all kinds of works have to be included. There has to be a detachment from the fruits, nishkam karma, remember and offer. This is the first step. Then comes the next step is consecration. Now consecration is the next step. So consecration is where you actually have said, Mother, this day is yours, I am giving it to you. So what happens then? Now if I have consecrated, I'll give an example. You go to a temple and there the prasad is consecrated to the deity. So what do? Do you just throw it on the ground? Do you just, now you're very careful and conscious in handling it, because it's not mine, belongs to the divine. In offering, there is still the sense of mine. But in consecration is a rite. It's something which becomes sacred. I am dressing. My dress is consecrated to the divine. Now that brings a big difference. Everything that I am doing is consecrated. My speech is consecrated to the divine. Can I use all kinds of words and say, I have offered it to the mother, I got angry, I offered to the mother? Offering, yes, you can say, Mother, I have got angry and I am offering my anger to you. Okay, we can do that. But consecration is where, okay, now I have to use my speech, my hands, my feet, and it should be something sacred. Every step that I take in life should be suffused with the sense of the sacred. It brings a totally new dimension. And then when we have consecrated, then next comes surrender. Surrender is the climax. So surrender is what? Now, till now, these are my works as I have felt inspired. I am giving it to you. I am not attached to the fruits, but I am doing it whatever comes. If good things come, I keep it. If bad things come, well, I accept it. So this is the offering. Then consecration is, I must do it with the spirit of the sacred. Still it is my works. It is my house. I am consecrating let's take an example. We buy a house, or we are given a room. So, we offer it to the mother. Mother, this is your house, very nice. Now consecrated. Now, once I have consecrated the house, will I say, okay, I am having a party, I am offering it to the mother, let's drink and dance? You will automatically feel it is so silly. Again, it's not about right or wrong. It's the sense of the sacred that comes with consecration. It comes automatically that this house is consecrated to the mother. I have money. Now, if I say that, Mother, I am offering this money to you, and then I use it my way. But consecration means if I use it for pleasure, for a trip to Dubai or wherever, I don't know. Now we have many pleasure spots, I think, in India itself. Then it comes that, this money belongs to the mother. How I am using it? Should I really use it for my satisfaction or my pleasure? Or because it's from the divine, you become a trustee, it's no more yours. Consecration brings that thing that is no more yours. And then comes surrender. Surrender is complete submission and obedience to the divine. I want to use it. This is the work that, I must wait and feel inspired and impelled by the mother. It means obedience to the divine. Now, till I feel impelled by the mother, I have a framework. Fortunately for us, Sri Aurobindo and the mother have written so many letters. So at least I can start with the Shastra. That, I want to do this work the way mother wants me to do it. Now you see there is a difference. Consecration brings the sense of the sacred, but still I am the doer. Now this I is becoming just a little instrument. I want to do it the way mother wants me to do it. As simple as that. So with consecration, I may be attached to vegetarian food, vegan food, everything. But if mother tells me eat egg, I'll eat egg. Because now it's obedience to the mother. So I'll go by what she has, to start with what they have revealed, and then slowly, as a result, There is a closeness which develops, contact which develops, and more one begins to be moved by the inner guidance, which means one becomes free of all the mental constructions, opinions, systems, philosophies, measures, blah, blah, blah. Because now the divine acts in freedom and infinity. He doesn't act according to our nostrums, our moral ideas, our rigid standards. He has his own standard and no standard. That's why he asked Arjun, I am asking you, shoot your arrows. That means no attachment anymore. Or rather, only attachment is to the divine. So if the divine so commands, I am willing to obey whatever be the command. If he asks me to sit quiet, do nothing, I am happy sitting quietly and doing nothing. And if he asks me to engage in a war, I am ready to engage in a war. If he asks me to arrange flowers, I am ready to arrange flowers. So surrender is the peak. And what is beyond surrender? Well, the perfected surrender is self-giving. Self-giving means now there is nothing called me. I have given myself to the divine, so what the divine flows, does, is his lookout. So that's the perfection where life, breath, activity, there is no more division. See, yoga is to heal the division. So what is the division? There are certain things I do for myself. So when I come, let us say to Savitri Bhavan or in my medical dispensary, then I am, okay, now this is mother's work I am doing. Some people take it like that, no, 6 hours work in the ashram. And the rest of the time, it's my time. How I spend, where I go, what I do, whom I meet. Now if you have given yourself, then there is no more of you. So your everything belongs to the divine, nothing belongs to you anymore. So you see, slowly what happens is the I becomes thinner and thinner. So first it becomes a little instrument of the divine, then even the instrument goes, because instrument is also an ego. First you thought you were the doer, then the doer goes, because she is the one who impels, she takes up the will. That's how the Gita. Then you cannot claim anything as your own. You can't say this is my house and my room. So we have those terms in the Gita. Nirashraya, anamaya. He has no house. Doesn't mean he's sitting in the jungle or living in a tree house. It means he doesn't own anything. Oh, this is my wife. Oh, this is my son. It goes away because nothing you cannot own, and this is not something you are doing externally. It is a sense which awakens that everybody belongs to the divine. So with that comes the spirit of yajna, which is central to works. So works are now done as a yajna for the collective good, offered to the divine so that things can get purified, refined, uplifted, and they are done for the march of mankind forward. There are no more any, egoistic or kickbacks, as they say, that you are going to receive from the work, because it's all completely the divine. So slowly the divine power begins to take up. There is a long period when we are doing it, but nothing really. We are still doing it egoistically. So after the instrument, the force that is working begins to get replaced instead of desire, because desire is no more impelling us. You can't act under desire. If somebody says that, you must do this because it will benefit you, it becomes impossible to do something because it will personally benefit you. All selfish motives, it just drops away. So now you are beginning to live according to what the divine wants you to be. So that's where let thy will be done. All this comes subsequently. But it's the most beautiful thing. Why? Because yoga is meant to give you freedom. So there is complete freedom. Because you own nothing, you are expecting nothing. All our joys and sorrows to begin with is from the divine. Later on, whatever we receive, the reaction is not of joy and sorrow, but simply because it's a gift of the divine. So that's how the karma yoga proceeds and goes towards its highest points. Now this is about the individual journey. But karma yoga by its nature has a collective dimension. Bhakti you can do, sit inside and sit only with your Lord and say, I am very happy sitting with my Lord. Or meditation you can do. But how can you work alone? You have to work involves group life. So there we have to understand that there are certain new things which come in when we are working for the group life. So in the group life, for example, I cannot start by, I am being guided by the divine. It should be done like this. And you don't understand me, therefore you better listen to me. See how the subtle doors ego finds. Now, in collective life, we learn that ego is wearing masks and hiding. Ego can hide as, see, this fellow, he does work so shabbily, or he is so bad, so poor. I begin to criticize others. All criticism creates a spirit of disorder. Because every time, even in our thoughts, if we are criticizing someone, the other person is responding inwardly. It is creating quarrels. So quarrels, disorder. So if you go back, when I had come and started, I don't know, now in departments probably things are a little different. And earlier, much earlier, if you read the sadhaks, but I remember even when I had joined, and surely those who had joined earlier. So when you see that in the ashram department, you'll see that they were not chit-chatting and speaking. Very quietly they were doing the work. You would just wonder, as soon as you enter, it's an atmosphere of peace that strikes you. So you wonder, are they working? Say if you entered a weaving section, or a tailoring section, or a shop, for example. Nobody is getting, you come, I'll show you books. No. Everybody is quietly sitting and watching. Nobody is selling a product, and yet one is engaged in selling a product. You see the difference. So that leap which comes with, contact with life, that externalizing consciousness, that turns within. And as it turns within, we become a witness. So witness state is very important in yoga work. That there is an external thing which is engaged in work, there is deep within, there is quietude. I really don't know how things are, but generally, like for example, if you're working in the kitchen, you just quietly hear say if you are cleaning and the bartans are going, you're just hearing there that sound. It becomes music, and there is hardly anybody talking to each other or bubbling with joy is there, but that joy is self-contained. It's turning into something else. It's turning into beauty of that work. So that's so important in a collective work. Harmony is very important, and harmony at any cost, because harmony is very dear to Mother. Very simply. Imagine, if people are fighting with each other, how does it look like, So we may say, well, I have a cause. Well, you have a cause, the other person also has a cause. So, how to maintain harmony? Center around truth. It should not become a personality-based harmony. It cannot be by its nature. So it has to be centered around truth of things. Wherever there is truth of things, there will be harmony. So that's very, very difficult. Mother herself said collective harmony is something which only the divine can achieve. But one sutra Sri Aurobindo gives, which is so wonderful. He was asked about collective harmony, and Sri Aurobindo gave a one-line reply. This is Nalini Das' letter, some number of lines. And Sri Aurobindo, he says how to have harmony, collective harmony. So he says, union in the Mother. Now there are no personalities involved anymore. I am not happy and smiling at you simply because you are on my side. I am not cross with somebody because he is somebody else's side. I am not, because he is agreeing to my thought and my ideas and my ideology. None of this. Because the divine dwells in all. That's why one of the basic practice of yoga, which is again in the very beginning, all these are first steps, is to see the divine in everything, every creature, tree, bird, plant, stone, snake, good man, evil man, everybody. It's very difficult. But that's the path that those who have gone have shown us. So we cannot see it unless we understand the difference between the soul and nature. So when we understand that man is bound to his nature, it is not that he is a wicked soul. Every soul is beautiful. It may be a small little element, but there is the nature. And when in our dealings, we have to deal keeping this in mind. So all this comes into consideration. That doesn't mean I go and start embracing everybody. Oh, you are also divine, I am also divine. That's stupidity. I understand, but there is no hatred, no grudges, no jealousies. Jealousy with whom? He is also the same divine self. In fact, one begins to become happy if one sees anyone progress anywhere in any which way. One is moved by a gesture of beauty and good and truth and love and compassion, wherever one finds it. So obviously then one is not on sides. Mother said that very clearly, I do not take sides. So what does she do? She puts the truth everywhere and in everyone. And whoever receives it, responds to it, is wonderful. But human mind likes to put cabins. And then it engages into all kinds of mock fights. So even in fight, there is this always the background that the divine dwells in all beings. So this is another basic practice, and we have all these phrases in the Gita which speaks about it. So when we advance like this, so collective work, discipline, order, organization, regularity and punctuality, all these are part of rhythm. Because I can't say I'll come at my own time, others will come at their own time, doesn't matter. Mother has given us freedom. That's not freedom. That's slavery to my own habits and my own. So we have to understand what this freedom implies. Of course, there is no outer compulsion. It has to be done from within. And when can it be done from within? Now comes the crown of work. Starts with knowledge. It goes through these stages of action. It comes when work becomes an act of love. So for me, a simple thing which I take it, that if I have to reach somewhere in time, if I have to deliver, I take it that mother is coming there. So mother will be there. So I keep telling people in conferences when they are getting late or all kinds of show is going on. Now I have stopped saying, I just enjoy the thing. But I would say, mother is here. So we should understand that we have set a time, let's say 4 p.m. So mother is here. So if mother is here, physically here, how would we respond? So Sri Aurobindo gives a very beautiful sutra regarding works. Always behave as if the mother is looking at you, for indeed she is always present. Do nothing, try to think and feel nothing, which contradicts her presence. Will I think in a certain way? Ill will, condescending things about others, this indulging in criticism, favorite pastime of people. And of course, many things like, especially when it is with speech, which uses not just harsh words, harshness, crudeness, vulgarity. Mother says if you are using the speech to project vulgarity, then it is committing suicide. Today, many places it's a norm. Using vulgar words, swear words, the decent word, the swear words is supposed to be cool. But we don't realize this instrument is being misused. So this work should be an act of love. We are not in divine service as we are in corporate sector service. That it's not a 9 to 5 job. When can we say that, for the divine we should be always ready, like Hanuman. Whenever he calls me for whatever work, nothing else. He may just say, you be here, like Dr. Sanyal was called and he thought I have to do something. And he wanted to do something this 2nd December. So he said, Mother, he thought he is a big doctor and he has to do this. Mother said, no, no, no. She in fact very strongly said no. Then he said, why was I called? Then he says later that I realized it was a big grace. Mother just wanted me to be here. See this identification that I am Mr. So-and-so or Dr. So-and-so. All this drops away. Then big work, small work, everything goes away. They too serve, stand and wait. So this is how the path of work unfolds and takes us. But it culminates in love and adoration. And this is the most complete form of love. Because what would be love if it doesn't engage in service? If somebody says it's so easy nowadays, all that you need is to text a message, I love you. That's all. And it takes equally another message to say, I hate you. Often to the same person. Because there never was love. Love by its nature means you will serve. Not serve because you are asked to serve. You see, this is the problem in an age of ego individuality. There is a true individuality. But ego individuality to serve someone is regarded as that I have become inferior. But we see that story in Mahabharata when there is the yagya which is being conducted. and everybody has to be given a work. And they ask Krishna, we don't know what work we should give you. It's part of yajna that everybody will be involved. So Krishna says, why? I'll pick up the used plates of people. Now, this is the work that Sri Krishna himself takes and shows the way. So then the big, small, everything, because it's an act of love. When you love somebody, by its nature you will do whatever will make the person happy. So mother says, don't work to flatter your ego, don't work to flatter others. Work to please the divine. So love comes as the crowning movement, and with love comes swift winged union with the divine. If love has begun, bhakti, going starts with knowledge, then work, then if bhakti has developed, that means one is now in a state of growing union. The lower nature begins to drop off, the higher nature begins to take over. And then comes the last phase, which is the yoga of transformation. Because so there are two types of karma yoga through works. One is the works which liberate us. So till now, whatever we have said will liberate us. Liberate us from what? It liberates us from all those expectations, fruits, etc. So we are fundamentally free. This simply practice of Nishkam Karma is a wonderful tool, literally a tool. If one just says that whenever the fruit comes in, and I said obvious or subtle fruit, one makes a conscious effort in the mind to offer it and not to let that drive further action. Then it is so powerful to liberate us. And then when we begin to become free even from what work we have to do, one has to wait upon the divine will. Then one is completely free from within. So it leads to a grand liberation. But after liberation, which is yoga of the Gita, there comes the yoga of transformation. So here what happens? The higher consciousness, the divine consciousness, the divine mother's force now begins to act through the instrument. Why? Because now desire is not kicking in. Because if you put in desire to a person who is a yogi, he will not act. He will not feel impelled to act. It may look outwardly that it is, but he cannot, because it will become impossible. Something within you will just not respond. Like if you say that, you advertise about your book, it just won't come in. You will be like a blank person, not knowing what to do. But somebody else may advertise and you are quietly watching it. If somebody says, let's go, we'll buy this for you, it won't get inside. But somebody else gives you, you take it as coming from the divine. Equally, when something goes from you under the impulsion of the divine, you forget what was the gift to whom you gave, because it has gone under a divine impulsion to the divine in the person. So all this begins to happen, and then a time comes and you are completely free from the desired self. Yet action continues. Now this is where the yoga of transformation, because you are not supposed to after that say, I am free, so I don't need to act. I'll just continue with my normal life and the minimum requirements. No. Then the divine consciousness begins to act, speech, because it's the most, the senses, the outer actions, the inner actions, everything begins to become a flow of the divine. So what happens now? The instruments have to adapt, modify. So upgrading begins. This is another process. The brain has to adapt to this new descending current. So brain normally cannot accommodate beyond a certain, certain kind of thinking. Suddenly its doors are opens to a inrush of infinity. The heart opens up to the influx of the divine love. Heart is not used to operate like that. It cabins love in certain attachments, certain people with whom we are connected, and some others. So it wide universal love. Life energy, it begins to change. And all the organs begin to change because they have to undergo a change. And finally, the very physical substance and the physical stuff under the impact of the divine consciousness begin to get modified and transformed into their divine possibility. So that is the ongoing work in those who have arrived at liberation through the yoga works. So this is the broad canvas. It gives a state of freedom, peace and joy. And that's what, there is no more the difference that there is something like finding the divine. You become one with the divine. How do you become one with the divine? You feel the constant closeness of the divine. It's an inner state, obviously. So that is what is that called? Samipya, nearness of the divine. You don't feel he's somewhere far. Oh, I have to go this place and then call him. Oh, I have to go to temple. I have to go to Matri Mandir to, connect, or I have to go to the ashram. You will go. But why? For the joy of, not because otherwise you cannot connect or contact. So there is Samipya. There is Salokya Mukti. You begin to dwell in the same status as the divine. That means in the same freedom, peace, truth, joy, delight of the divine, beatitude of the divine. Same status as the divine. Sayujya. You feel a constant oneness with the divine. Divine is not somebody whom you have to find. Divine alone is. There is nothing else but the divine. And finally, sadharma, where your nature begins to get transformed into the nature of the divine. This happens through the yoga works. Yoga works can lead us to all these great felicities. So, whatever human activity is outwardly, because they may look like human activities, still it is being done under the pressure of the influx of the divine consciousness. A higher divine supernature. Ego, desire is no more the motive force. Outwardly, you may be engaged in a big action or a small action. It doesn't matter. But it is the pouring of the divine consciousness, the divine nature. You can't imitate it. Like, because mother did it, let me try to do it. No, it won't work. Oh, mother would give so much time to this activity, therefore I must do it like that. No. Your nature automatically begins to become tuned to the divine nature. So that's what is finding the divine through works. Questions?
Thank you, Alok. Actually, you mentioned about the harmony.
About the
Harmony.
harmony, yeah.
So that is the main thing. We want to know how to bring the harmony, because everyone is here working towards the divine.
Yes.
Whether they are.
Yes. How to bring harmony? The answer is in one word. Disharmony is in direct proportion to the lack of love. It is love which brings harmony. And very simply, say in your house, you have brothers and sisters. You may have differences, but see, disharmony doesn't come. I am not talking of many modern houses, but disharmony doesn't come. Your mother scolds you, your dad may be cross, but disharmony doesn't come. Again, I am not talking of extreme situations. But generally speaking, why? Because love brings that sense of oneness. Disharmony means love is missing. Straight you can say love is missing. And when love is missing, joy is also missing. So all kinds of nonsensical things start. People escape all parties and all this. What is the problem? Because they are not getting natural joy. If you experience natural joy, you will feel a degradation. So it's because of lack of love. And where does love come from? Love comes source the divine. If you don't love the divine, well, by that I am not saying don't love the divine. If you know, love has to come naturally. It's not something you can do it artificially. But certain kind of approach to the divine makes it difficult to love the divine. For example, a very abstract philosophical, metaphysical approach. Oh, divine is the self inhabiting, or he is like an impersonal reality. You can't love an impersonal reality. So there are people who adopt that approach to the divine, and it's difficult for them to love the divine. Eventually, they will reach at that point where they see the oneself in all. But it's a far more difficult approach, and maybe one odd person will reach, but most will collapse. That's what the Gita says. But if you take the divine as being, Purushottama, he is a living, real, more real than us. I can doubt my existence, but not the divine existence. This is not something intellectual. Then what happens? Love is born. Because divine is not, it's like the river rushing to the sea. So when that is the idea of to start with, there will be an idea of the divine, then love is born. When love is born, it starts looking at life very differently. You're not somebody else, you are my other self. You may be horrible in your outer nature, you may you may be doing things which are stupid in my stupid view, but I love you. You see, you will never give up. You will, people, this is there in Sri Aurobindo's letters, by the way, that when people would say, no, I think I'll go away from here and that is the best for the work, he would say, no, that's not the path. Why? Because he loves. Would you ever tell a child you have failed, therefore you leave the house and go away? You will constantly work to make sure that the child progresses. The moment you say that, well, you are not my child because you have done something which is unbecoming of me, that means it's an ego, it's not love. So it cannot be any more evolution, progress, or collapse by that. The higher you rise, the vaster you become, the humbler you become, the more love is born, the more you accept people, world, just as they are, and you take them along together. It's not like you are blind to their difficulties, but you understand that everybody has difficulties. I have my own difficulties. You become generous to others. There is a sunny tolerance to each other. Anybody who has ever fought with his own nature will become by nature very tolerant. Because not tolerant in a superior way, I am tolerant of you, oh. No, not like that. You understand it's so difficult. It's not easy. So, if you ask me one reason how to create harmony, cultivate love. Connect with people through love, not through the intellectual, analytical mind which is judging others and, imagine if God were to do it for one moment, where will any of us stand? We place ourselves on a superior note and look at others, no? So, basically it's lack of love. And lack of love is because of the idea of the divine we hold within us. So that's the remedy. Prescription, QED. Take thou, and for love of the divine. You can't do it as a bonhomie. You can't make people come together and have a party, get together and have some nice songs and say, like we are reaching at unity. No, it won't lead to unity. Even there people undercurrent will be, oh, look at this person, he has also come. Look at that person. Like people go to all kinds of places and they're looking at dresses. It won't lead to. There's a nice story in Ashtavakra Gita. You would remember it probably. So when Ashtavakra goes to a place where King Janak is looking for a man who can really awaken him, enlighten him. So he calls all the different people who are supposed to be the knowers of Brahman. And among them is Ashtavakra also. So when Ashtavakra walks in, he suddenly laughs. So King Janak says, why have you laughed? He said, I thought you have called me in the place of Brahma Jnanis, but see, his body was bent from 8 sides. So he says that, well, see, everybody when I entered are looking askance. They are looking at my body. Where is the soul knower? So what is our response when we see some defect? Either let's talk physically. Either we try to, take that other, oh, no, everything is fine. Still, it's the same thing, inequality. Or we are totally keep away. But a person who loves God, loves because loves in the core. And therefore he accepts many things, tolerates, is willing to carry everybody together. That's the leader. A true leader is a leader who has a heart of love. Mother and Sri Aurobindo, classic example. How could they hold together people who were so different? Sometimes some of them who would not see each other eye to eye. What were they tied with? the cord of mother's love. So wherever there is disharmony, there is lack of love. Wherever there is lack of love, there is lack of that joining with the divine, because that's where the source of love comes. Also, wideness brings harmony. Wideness means we understand that love brings wideness as such, but wideness, understand that, there are different ways people are, there are different ways of looking at the same thing. Who knows the complete truth? Very rarest of rare. So everybody is looking at the thing differently. It's like speaking different languages. What does it matter? There's a song also like that. Somebody says, I love you. Somebody says, Ami tomar ke bhalovasi. What does it matter? It's externalities are externalities. So we should, when you widen the consciousness, you automatically begins to connect at a deeper core. The mind is, understand there are different ways of looking at the same phenomena, and therefore you automatically begin to accept things, and then there is harmony. Disharmony comes when I want few things to be there and certain things to be out. Why? Because I think this is divine, that is not divine. Who knows? Divine will have a laugh. There is the story of that man who had helped in making a church for many years. And then suddenly one day they said that, you have to go and pray in another church because now blacks have a different church. So he was crying. And the great Savior appeared before him and said, why are you crying, my child? He says, see, so many years I labored and now they are asking me to go away from here. So he says, you are in good company. They have sent me away 5 years ago. So you see, in an atmosphere of disharmony, we have sent away the divine. We are saying that we are doing for divine, but where is, disharmony, criticism, this tendency to turn away people, all this, feeling superior, inferior, all these things. But a wide mind, by its ability of vastness, it has great compassion. It understands that different people are at different stages. They are probably saying the same thing, but looking at it differently. They are people of goodwill. As the mother said, in goodwill we all can come together. Basic goodwill. In Auroville, for example, that humanity must progress. That's what is important. That's the minimum goodwill. So these are the ways by which harmony can come. I'll just complete that. Collective activities centered around the divine are very important. Not cultural activities. Collective activities centered around the divine. See, culturalists, they are different cultures, they have their different, but centered around the divine are very important. They are called as yagya. Yagya brings the spirit of coming together. Like in ashram, we have darshan days. So when you come together around a certain ideal, it's a reminder that we are here together for a certain ideal. We are all here as children of the mother. And that brings together, cements us at a different level altogether. You may be having a kind of quarrel with somebody, and suddenly you see that he is in the same darshan queue as you are there, and you understand that he also loves her so well. It brings a very different kind of harmony. Collective activities are yagya, collective meditation, collective studies centered around the divine. That is important. Yes, please.
Yeah, she asked why there's a disharmony, and you beautifully replied that the lack of love. Sometimes it happens, I'm also attending the classes as a Gita, and most of the times you say that Arjuna will have to fight with his brothers and his siblings. So there's a situation in front of him where Arjuna himself is saying that I love everybody, that I have that much of a compassion, I don't want to fight.
Yes.
Krishna considered it as a asuric forces.
Yes.
So look at them, what they actually did, but how Arjuna is saying that I have a love for both of them, I love everybody.
Yes.
No hatred.
Yes. Like people are divorcing for over Ukraine-Russia war.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So the question is, in that kind of situation, how one can be so compassionate and be so loving
Very simple.
Because,
Yes.
okay, I love everybody. So that kind of compassion sometimes is really difficult to deal with the situation. And the moment when you go into the situation, it just clashes, and that brings the disharmony.
Very simple. Yes, we all go through these things. Very simple. So, if there is, let us say that when you have to sometimes take a stand and take a side, let's put it like that, and you believe that you are on the right side. Again, let me say that you believe. It's very important to be first very clear in knowledge that I am, the right side is the side that the divine stands, not where my thought stands. So that's first thing. But let's say that as in the war of the Gita, there is love. Now, see the beauty of the whole thing. There is love for filial love, where Arjun stands. Start from that Christ. There are people whom you are associated with, whom you are fond of, either because of birth or because of various reasons. And then there is a larger collectivity. What would you choose? Let me put it very squarely on a very small scale to make it evident. Now, if let us say that I discover that my brother, whom I love very much, is planning a terrorist attack, what should I do? The answer is obvious. Does it mean I don't love him? I hate him? No, on the contrary, this is the best for him. Recently, there was an incident like that where the brother, a lady had committed a murder. She got married just for, jewelry and just to get things. And then within, I think, 10 days, she murdered the man. So, the brother, they didn't know where she is. Finally, she called the brother thinking that he is going to help me and support me. He said, surrender to the police, he informed the police. He said, this is the best for you. Now you see, actually it is the best even for the person. Now, individual things, it's all right. But what about collective things, where there is a larger scale issue involved? Now, there it's very simple. You do what you are impelled by the deepest truth of our being. Love doesn't mean that I'll succumb to falsehood. Let's say, for example, there's a whole group which believes in one way, and they all believe they are right, and there's another group which also believes they are right. Let's put it in a very more difficult situation. Not like there is a clear-cut right and wrong, like Sri Aurobindo asked about alleys and the axis parts. So now what do? Let's say you are caught in somewhere in between. You will stand by truth whichever side it is. You are not standing on a side. You are standing by the truth as it is revealed to you, knowing very well that this is how it is revealed to me. Who knows, as I advance and progress, another truth may reveal itself to me. So I should be open. Truth is something which is infinite and plastic. So once I take that stand that based on my truth, I am doing the action, I am not taking sides. People may think I am taking sides until they discover, no, he is both sides. Because you are on the side of truth. It has happened actually. I have faced this situation, and somebody asked, which side are you? I said, on the side of truth, as it has revealed itself to me. And tomorrow I am open to growing if new things reveal. I am not on any side. You may think that I am on this side or that side. That's your problem, not my problem. At the same time, when I stand by the truth that is revealed to me, I will engage in that action which is my field. I'm not going to become a Jhanda activist and start doing dharna and all that. I'll not do that, because that's not what... I'm not fighting for a mental ideal. I'm fighting for something much greater which is beyond humanity. So the thing is that while you have your own, you must express what you believe to be true, but at the same time you don't become an activist. You don't become like, okay, as a group together, as a mass mentality, I'm going to fight against this other mass. No. So in the Mahabharata, it is very clear. Shri Krishna never asks Arjun to hate anyone. In fact, if you see him all through, towards Karna, towards Bhishma, Drona, there is compassion. And he asks Arjun to be like that. At the same time, if these people don't go, the larger good will be affected. And I can take examples. I can take examples of Auroville. So certain things, if they have to be done, they have to be done. That's it. So if you ask me my view, I'll tell my view very openly and frankly as I see it. But that doesn't mean that I don't understand that there is another side to the problem, and I fully understand that there are people who are on looking at it very differently. Now, I will not start interfering with the decision-making process or influencing. But if I am, let us say, in a decision-making part, then I'll stand by the truth that I see it. Then I'll not get motivated by, my friend coming and telling me, Mr. President, you must put these tariffs, then this fellow will come to senses. I won't act based on that. I have my own inner truth. So that's how this is a very fine surgery. It's very easy for individuals to be driven by mob mentality and like masses and being on this side. Krishna is not on any side. Krishna is for dharma and truth. And that's why you see the beauty of the Mahabharata. He did not only, the Kauravas are not destroyed. Many among the Pandavas the side are destroyed. That whole war left only 18 people alive. And he says that, his own Yadukul. Because it is about dharma and truth. It's not about I like somebody, therefore, or I want some favor. See, this is an inner process. I may stand by somebody simply because, either out of mental idealism, or because I like somebody, or because I want certain favors. Even if I am on the right side, I am still wrong as far as Karma Yoga goes. So there are people in the side of the Pandavas who were having their own axe to grind. And still, they had to go. They were standing on the right side. And third thing which is very important is, when we speak about the right side and the wrong side, it's about evolution. What will lead to the keeping open the evolutionary path along the lines? I'll give you another example with regard to Auroville. And I like to speak very openly. See, there is a way that you can straighten everything by government rules and regulations. Isn't it? You can do it. People do it. Singapore, you can make another Singapore here. Absolutely, you can't throw a thing on the road because you will be punished. But that's not Auroville. It's different. That's the beauty. Now it's challenging. So anything which is done through external rules, regulations, and law and compulsion is the old world. What is the other way? I would say, I do not know, but I must discover it. It may take me long, maybe I have to evolve in my consciousness, yet I must discover it. So anything which is maintained by external pressure cannot be an authentic evolution. You see in the ashram, this is the problem which people face. But how Mother and Sri Aurobindo has allowed that? Of course, that's because their presence, their power. So we have to invoke their presence and power so that that can begin to operate and change people from within. I may do conform and obey things because I am afraid that, I may be thrown out. But that's not authentic change. That's not yoga. So that's what we should take up. I'm not saying this or that person. For each one of us. So I would not like to impose things from outside because that is not Sri Aurobindo and the Mother's way. People have to change from within, and that means I must engage in changing that part within me which corresponds to that. I have to allow a much larger freedom. I have to make people more aware through greater increase of knowledge, increase of love for Auroville to manifest. I'm just taking one example. And this goes everywhere in every society. In a house, if a father bulldozes the wife and the child and because I say so. If you don't do it, I'll not give you money for further studies. We'll say how horrible, no? So that's how it is. Okay, thank you so much.